Business consultant, and today we continue on with our leaders' work ethic. The issue of love and dependence. How do we go overboard loving and become dependents?
Now, that especially is true of many parents.
Yes.
When they love their children to the extent they can't allow the child to wash their clothes because, after all, the house girl can wash it. They can't allow the child to do any work. You know, there's a kind of a philosophy that the parents were so badly brought up. They did so much work. They had such a hard time. They are trying to ensure their children feel their love.
Yes.
What is the product? That boy will finally leave home to go to his own house. Doesn't know how to cook ugali. Doesn't know how to clean his own room. Within no time, he's a total mess.
Yes.
And he either comes back to his home or he ends up totally destroyed.
Yes.
Dobson deals with that matter and says, love must be tough. If you truly love someone, you'll do what is best for them. And since what is best for them is to progressively allow them to become independent, then you, whoever you love, you must love them in such a way that they are progressively becoming independent.
Yes.
Love must be tough. And that will be true of you as a parent, true as a wife or a husband. You must love your wife such that you do not make her totally unthinking. Involve her in your decisions, such that even if you are not there, you die or something happens, the wife knows what happens in that home.
Yes.
She can actually continually and operate.
Yes.
The husband understands what happens in the home. If you are not there, they still can go to the kitchen and operate. That means you really love them.
Yes.
But if you make them totally unable to operate,
Yes.
you make them like cripples, they can't operate without you.
Yeah.
That's not a sign of love. It's a sign of carelessness. And you really don't love them because you are going to be the cause of their destruction. And that's really what you are talking about. So, anybody who loves another to the extent that they don't allow them to work, yet we have been saying in this program that God created us with a capacity and a need to work, then you stop them from working by providing everything without them doing anything. You really don't love them. If you truly love someone, you work in such a way that you allow them to be dependent. You must allow them to be human beings. And human beings, proper human beings, do not like you receiving everything. They like to be symbiotic, where we help one another. We both operate. Help me where I cannot help myself, and I'll help you where you cannot help yourself. Whether you're a parent, a child, everybody participates to make each other's life better. That's really what we are talking about. And in working, it's important. Let's look at the words found in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 11. In the King James Version, it says, and that you study to be quiet, to do your own business, to work with your own hands, as he commanded you. Verse 12, that you may walk honestly toward them who are out without, that you may have lack for nothing. The first time I read the Bible, this verse, I was surprised. It's one long sentence, verse 11 and 12. And in the NIV, it says, make it your vision. It's the beginning of the... Then at the end of verse 12, then it says, make it your vision not to be dependent on anyone. You know, the same Bible that commands you don't commit adultery. It's also giving you a command, don't be dependent. Your vision should be not to be dependent on anyone. If you're a baby, that is not your message. But as you grow older and older, you should grow progressively, become independent. How do you know the baby is growing? When it can sit without the mother holding. At about 6 months, they're able to sit back on their own. A baby is born totally dependent. But we call it a mature baby because now it can operate without the parents. It's similar. The Bible here is saying, make it your vision not to be dependent on another. And it means that any Christian who lives his life paid for by others for adding no value to them has a problem.
That's true.
If you're a pastor, you are adding value to your congregation.
Mm-hmm.
So when they take an offering and they pay you a salary, you are not depending on them.
No.
You are earning your salary.
Yes.
When you are an engineer, you make a road, adding value to that community. They are taxed in order to pay your bills.
Yes.
You are not depending on them.
No.
You are adding value to them, and they are paying for adding value. But anytime you receive something for doing nothing,
Yes.
you are becoming dependent. And people who are dependent soon become corrupt. Because when you are used to getting things without working,
Yeah.
when somebody wants to influence you, they'll just come and say, hey, Mr. Nga, come outside. That Mercedes is yours.
Wow.
Said, for doing what? I just thought of you. Of course, what you don't know is the following month, he'll be saying, there's this tender. I'm sure since you're on the inside, you can do something to help us. And obviously, he starts by saying, hey, how is the car? Doing very well. Yeah, I just visited to remind you there is a tender.
Yeah, you pay back time.
He will not use the words, but you understand it.
Yeah, you get it.
If he is unable to win the tender, you'll be in a lot of trouble
A lot of.
yourself. You have become a prisoner
Yes.
by being dependent. It all began by you wanting free things, things you have not worked for. And the Bible is commanding you against it.
Yes.
But in the end,
Yeah.
you find it easier to accept gifts. People are taught when they are young,
Yes.
there is no free lunch. There's nothing for nothing. You cannot have something for nothing. That's a very, very important principle. That's a principle the Thessalonians is teaching. Make it your passion,
Yes. Yes.
not to get free things. Anything you have in your house, you should be able to account for it.
Yes.
And how God bless the work of your hands for you to get it. Of course, I'm not suggesting that you cannot accept my gift.
No.
But it's supposed to be give and take.
Yes.
I give you, but you should also want to give me something. You may not be as rich as me, but I expect you to also give me something. Because that's what friendship is about. It's give and take. But there are people who just enjoy getting free things.
Yes. Yes.
They'll see you in a suit and say, hey, Nganga, how can you have a suit alone? Buy me a suit. For doing what? What have you done
Yes.
to deserve being bought a suit?
Yes.
That's called begging. The Bible here doesn't allow you to beg.
No.
So beggars with healthy hands, healthy feet, and yet you are always begging,
Yes.
you are contradicting the scriptures.
Yes.
That's why my book on work ethics says whatever you have, you must work for it. And yet you don't get it just because of working. It's because of God's blessings. So even what you get out of working, you are grateful to God because you realize it is God blessing the work of your hands. But maybe you should look at this verse a little more.
Yes. Yes.
It says, for you to achieve that purpose, not becoming dependent on others,
Yes. Yes.
there are several prerequisites. And the first one, which he says in verse 11, is to learn to be quiet.
Quiet.
Study to be quiet.
Quiet.
In other words,
Yeah.
quietness requires you to think so that you don't act without thinking.
Yes.
One of the Christian disciplines is what we call quiet time.
Quiet time.
A time when you block out
Yes.
everything around you in order to have time with God, listen to Him, meditate on His Word. That quietness, as you end up going to work, you go clear what to do, clear how to do it, and clear what not to do. That will help you to become productive and not to be dependent on others.
Yes. Yes.
Study to be quiet. Learn how to have a time when you are quiet and you meditate. Quietness and meditation is not a waste of time. It's a way of making your time more productive. Of course, I'm not suggesting TM or yoga, because that's different. What that meditation does is tells you to be blank, then the demons can visit. Now, Christian meditation is to take the message you have read, think about it, ask yourself questions, and listen to what God is saying. That's what meditation is. That's the first way of learning to become somebody productive, who will meet his own needs, who will meet the needs of his family, and not just that, he will have enough to give others. First thing is learning to be quiet. Number two, according to this portion of scripture, to mind your own business. First time I read it, I said, hey, sounds rude. Can you imagine saying, Ijiniaduku, mind your own business. It sounds rude. But the Bible is saying, if you are a Christian, I'll know you are, because you mind your own business. Don't be a busybody.
That's true.
Always, there are people who know other people's business more than they know theirs.
That's true.
If you mind your own business, your working hours will be productive.
That's true.
There are people who are in the office, but they are calling the whole world. There are people in their business, but they are wondering about the other department. And yet they have not finished the work in their own department. People who are productive are people who think about what they are doing and concentrate on what they are doing, and they are disciplined about what they are doing. Mind your own business. Don't be a busybody. Do what God has given you to do.
Yes.
If you concentrate on it, it will not end up with nothing.
Yes.
You become productive. You add value onto others. Yes. You'll be willing to pay for it. So you not depend on others. Mind your own business. Thirdly, according to this portion of scripture, work with your own hands. In other words, don't do deals.
No.
Don't work with your uncle's hands.
No.
Don't drop names. I know the president, I know the deputy president. Are you aware the CS is my brother? No, that's not work. Work must be something adding value to others.
Yes.
It must be meeting a need in somebody else's life. If you do nothing and expect something, basically you are breaking this command.
Yeah.
But it's saying if you really want to be ambitious and be a person who is not dependent on others, it will be important that you learn to work with your hands.
Yes.
In other words, you can say, I did it.
Yes.
There are people, you ask them what you did, they seem to know how to tie strings. They are brokers.
Yes.
They're adding no value. You are even broking on an area. For example, I'm free to go to the cabinet minister's office.
Yes.
Then you stand outside to say, there they'll have trouble. Let me talk to him on your behalf.
Yes.
So I stay outside, you go in. I would have gone in. You are adding no value. And if you're adding a value, you are corrupt.
Yes.
Because you see, the cabinet minister is our cabinet minister.
Yes.
So how come he will see you and not see me?
Yes.
And how come he will come to listen to you? Why can't he tell you, let the person come? I want to talk to him directly. So working with your hands is a critical requirement rather than working with other people's. Don't do deals. Add value.
That's true.
Do something productive. That's what the Bible is saying. Work with your own hands, not other people's hands. And the next, do it honestly, that you may walk honestly. In other words, integrity. You cannot be somebody who will not depend on others when you have no integrity. Integrity is the one that will make you not accept free gifts. Integrity is the one that will make you be contented with what you have. Integrity is the one that will make you not want to give or receive bribes. Because your integrity cannot allow you to do that. Honesty. Those are the requirements that will help you. But what will be the motivation? Number one, so that you're not dependent on others. Number two, according to this one, so that you get the respect of outsiders, non-Christians. You remember your work is the aiming at non-Christians admiring your Christ. And because they admire your Christ, they will want to give him glory.
That's true.
Thank you.
That's true. Viewers, it's getting better and better. We need to learn not to depend on others by working with our own hearts. And if you have comments on this and many more, hit our Facebook page at our Leaders Dialogue or our Twitter at Leaders Dialogue Show. Mr. John Nganga, we are so grateful to have you and thank you for the insights. Until next time, Monday, 8:30 p.m. Stay safe, keep glowing as a leader. Thank you.
We are the new generation. We are the youth of the nation. High in the sky. We are the new generation. Leader.